Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with California Dairy Magazine, reporting to you from the Sacramento Convention Center where the inaugural California Dairy Sustainability Summit is being held. I'm here with Geoff Vanden Heuvel from the Milk Producers Council. He's recently gone full-time with the position, and he's monitoring closely what's going on with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, known as SGMA. It can be confusing for a lot of people because there's a lot of things to keep track of. This is an issue that is very serious, and he's been on the forefront of that, attending meetings. What can you tell us about what's coming down the pipeline? What are they doing right now?
Well, the legislature passed the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act in 2014, late in the year, and essentially the purpose of the act is to ultimately eliminate the mining of groundwater. They want to get ultimately to a situation where you're only taking as much water out of the ground as what can be sustainably recharged on a long-term basis. This is a particular problem in the Central Valley of California where studies, pretty credible studies, have shown that we're mining about 2 to 2.5 million acre feet a year out of the Central Valley. And this is not sustainable. And that's true. So SGMA, which is how it's come to be known, is being implemented right now. And the design of the law is for it to be implemented at the local level. So the Central Valley, for example, has been divided up into sub-basins, and these sub-basins are basically the areas that are the drainage of the local rivers. So Kern River sub-basin is the drainage area of the Kern River. The Tule sub-basin is the Tule River. The Cahuilla sub-basin is the Cahuilla River, and so forth. So each one of these sub-basins then has the requirement to come up with local agencies to develop them, and they have. So there are about 100 plus groundwater sustainability agencies that have been established in the critically overdrafted part of the Central Valley. And each one of these groundwater sustainability agencies has the task to come up with a plan on how they're going to, by 2040, reach this sustainable production of groundwater. So, like you said, Malcolm, I was hired by Milk Producers Council to basically be the dairy industry's eyes and ears and advocate as this Sustainable Groundwater Management Act is being implemented. And there was no other way I could think of than to just start going to meetings. So I retired from the dairy industry, from milking cows, at the end of May of this year. And I dairied in Chino for 39 years and spent a good chunk of that on water boards there representing agriculture. So I have a lot of experience in this. But it was a new experience to be in the Central Valley. And so around the 1st of June, I moved to Tulare. And I've been going to dozens and dozens of these meetings and participating as these communities and these agencies are trying to develop their plans. Now, the first thing that all these agencies did after they got organized was to hire water consulting engineers, because you have to figure out how much water do we have. And they've been working for the last year, and these numbers are starting to come out in terms of these water budgets. And it's a pretty bleak picture in some pretty major dairy areas of the Central Valley. These preliminary numbers are showing that native water supply, if you're only depending on groundwater, can get as low as 6 inches, a half an acre foot per acre. There's some that are a little bit more than that, maybe up to an acre foot, some a little bit more than that. So if you're in a part of the Central Valley where you have no access at all to surface water, this is a very serious threat to your viability. So there are areas that have surface water. They're still vulnerable, probably not enough water, but they're in certainly better shape than those parts of the Central Valley that have no access to surface water. So this is, and I know, having dairied for 39 years and in this environment, you got a lot of things coming at you. and not the least of which is an inadequate milk price. But this is not something that can be ignored. It's not going to go away. So my message to my former colleagues and my great friends who are dairy farmers is, you need to know what your situation is. What groundwater sustainability agency are you in? There are resources that can easily help you find that. There's good mapping resources. You need to go identify who's leading that effort in your own community. You need to show up. You need to go tell them who you are, ask questions about where they're at, and you just have to get engaged. There is just no substitute for getting engaged on this issue. So I know people aren't looking for another meeting or another problem, but the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act is really about allocating pain. Okay, you got water that has to usage that has to be reduced, and it's how to allocate that out, and it's a very unpleasant reality, but that is the reality that we're dealing with. And the only good news is we got time. We got 20 years before we have to reach sustainability, really a little bit longer than that. And so, hopefully we'll be able to come up with some solutions, but it all is going to start with people getting engaged early.
Yeah, certainly something that dairy producers will want to be at the table for. And so, yeah, get involved. Thank you, Geoff. Read more about these things and get some updates in California Dairy Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.